Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to give my review of AEW's All Out. Starting off tonight, we have a highly anticipated tag team matchup. It is FTR taking on Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, CNC. The match itself, it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between FTR and Copeland and Cage, with Copeland and Cage keeping the pace of the match. Copeland plays homage to Cena with the 5-knuckle shuffle in the middle of the ring. Dax Harwood and Cage both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Copeland and Cage applying a sharpshooter on FTR in the middle of the ring, but the hold is broken. Cage hits a spear. Copeland then follows that up by hitting a kill switch for a near fall. All of a sudden, we see Stokely Hathaway ringside. He's trying to get involved in the match. But all of a sudden, a music hits. There's a fire thing, if you will, on the Titantron. Nobody knows exactly who it is, but all of a sudden, it's Beth Phoenix. Crowd erupts. Beth comes out to the ring. She attacks Stokely Hathaway. Wheeler then hits a powerbomb on Cage on the announce table. It looked absolutely brutal. FTR then hits a pile driver on Copeland for a near fall. Copeland gets up, hits an impaler on FTR. FTR get up, hit a shatter machine on Copeland for a near fall in the middle of the ring. Copeland, though, hits a spear on Wheeler in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. After the match, you can see Nick Wayne and Mother Wayne standing on the stage, staring down Copeland and Christian Cage. FTR then capitalizes on that by attacking Copeland and Cage from behind. Beth Phoenix is in the ring. She attacks FTR as Copeland is cuffed to the ropes. Christian Cage is taken out. Copeland's watching on as FTR end up hitting a pile driver on Beth Phoenix in the middle of the ring. Some interesting stuff there between FTR and Beth. Beth Copeland, or Beth, if you will. A couple of things I want to talk about with this matchup, man. Number one, it was a solid match. For what it's worth, I know a lot of people, myself included, have been crucial on WWE storylines, or AEW storylines, and I've been at the forefront of that. Storylines have been lacking in AEW for the past 3 years. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. It's just not there. A lot of fans are getting, not intrigued with AEW's product. They're getting really not invested with the product due to storylines they really can't stake their teeth into. So to see this Adam Copeland, Christian Cage reunion, if you will, it's something that's sparking fans' interest. Obviously, fans do want to see Copeland and Christian Cage team up. And what better way to do that than have a match with FTR, which to me, FTR is one of the best tag teams in the world today. People don't have to like that, but that's just the truth of it. They are. It was a good match. I think the biggest moment from this matchup, honestly, would have to be the return of Beth Phoenix. Or like I mentioned earlier, Beth Copeland, which is hilarious. But Beth Phoenix debuting, if you will, or showing up in AEW and attacking Stokely Hathaway. And it's got a lot of people talking. Is this something that is going to be a one-off for Beth? Is Beth signed with AEW? A lot of people have been thinking, is this going to be a one-off? There has been rumors and speculation that this debut, if you will, of Beth Phoenix is not just a one-off and that she would be back in AEW. So if that is the case, I'm all for it. I think Beth Phoenix would be great in AEW. I know a lot of people might disagree with that because she's a veteran and she's a former WWE talent, and what is she really going to do in the women's division? To me, bringing Beth Phoenix in to AEW into the women's locker room that's already getting stacked as it is, I think bringing in someone like Beth Phoenix to bring in some leadership, a veteran role in the women's locker room, I think would be a great addition to the AEW women's locker room. And for what it's worth, she's going to have some really good matches, and it looks like Beth honestly can still go. So I'm not against it. If it's not a one-off and we might see Beth Phoenix again in AEW, I'm all for it. And I think if anything, bringing Beth back is only going to intensify the story even more, because I do believe this FTR and Copeland and Cage shit is far from over. So incorporating Beth Phoenix might intensify the story here between Copeland, Cage, and FTR. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. Is the return of Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston's been out for, I think, like 16 months due to multiple leg injuries. I think he even had a broken foot or a broken leg, torn MCL, ACL. So, I mean, he was out for quite some time. So this was his return match against none other than Big Bill. The match itself, it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Kingston and Bill, with Bill keeping the pace of the match. Kingston tries to fight back by hitting an exploder suplex on Bill, but Bill hits a bossman slam on Eddie Kingston in the middle of the ring. Eddie gets up, hits a spinning back fist on Big Bill, but Bill gets up, hits Eddie with a high boot, taking Eddie Kingston out. But Kingston gets up, hits a spinning back fist that was pretty much almost botched. Ends up covering Big Bill, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Eddie Kingston. After the match, Brian Keith then attacks Eddie Kingston, who was standing ringside. Lights end up going out. All of a sudden, we see the Hook emblem in the top of the arena. Hook shows up. Hook attacks Brian Keith, and then Kingston hits another spinning back fist on Brian Keith. A couple of things I'm going to talk about this, man. Number one, it's great to see Eddie back. I'm a huge fan of Eddie Kingston. He's obviously great on the microphone. Obviously, he's been gone from AEW for quite some time, dealing with multiple injuries. That kind of sidelined Kingston for quite some time. On commentary, I think Excalibur put it perfectly. Eddie Kingston is one of those guys who a lot of people can relate to. And him on the microphone and how he can sell a match. I mean, Eddie Kingston's, he's great on the mic. He's absolutely great on the mic. Was there going to be some ring rust from Eddie going into this matchup against Big Bill? Absolutely. The guy's been gone for 12 to 16 months. I mean, obviously there was going to be a little ring rust. The spinning back fist that was botched, I mean, you can see it clear as day. And you can see that Eddie was having a hard time. Looks like he had a rough time breathing throughout the match. He looked very winded. But he's trying to get his feet back, into the ring. He's trying to get back to what he once was, if he can, before he had suffered that lengthy injury that put him on the shelf for 12 to 16 months. So it's going to take Eddie Kingston a little bit of time to get back to what he once was or get close to it. Was it a great return match? No. But having Eddie Kingston back into the fold of AEW, it's going to open up doors for a lot more matches. And to see Eddie Kingston on TV, I mean, to me, you can't complain about that. I mean, like I said, Kingston's great on the microphone. I'm hoping we hear something from Eddie on this week's Dynamite, especially with him now back into the fold of AEW. So, I mean, like I said, was it a great return match for Eddie? No. But I think it was a good warm-up match for Eddie Kingston. I like to see what he has to say as far as him returning and what he had to deal with as far as that lengthy injury that he had to deal with him being out for 12 to 16 months. So, it'd be great to see him on Dynamite and see what he has to say. But like I said, it was a decent match at best. I think I expected a lot more, but for what it's worth, it was a decent match at best. Moving on from that, we have a tables and tax matchup. It is MJF taking on Mark Briscoe. I thought it was a decent match. It was a good match. Back and forth matchup between MJF and Briscoe, with Briscoe and MJF both exchanging in the middle of the ring. MJF then takes Mark tosses Mark onto the tax. MJF then drives Mark's face first into the tax. It looked absolutely brutal. After that, MJF then hits an Alabama slam on Mark Briscoe into the tax. MJF then puts tax into Mark's mouth. It looked absolutely brutal. MJF was trying to keep the pace of the match, but Mark slams MJF through the tax. Briscoe then hits a senton over the ropes to the outside on MJF through a table. Briscoe then hits an elbow off the apron on MJF through a table, straight up Cactus Jack style. Briscoe hits a powerbomb on MJF onto the tax. MJF gets up, hits Mark with a chair covered in tax. Briscoe then goes to the top rope, hits a froggy bow on MJF through a table, followed by Mark hitting another froggy bow on MJF. But then Briscoe hits a J Drilla on MJF, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Mark Briscoe. Hats off to Mark Briscoe for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a 6-man tag team matchup. It is the Gates of Agony teaming up with Ricochet to take on the Hurt Syndicate and MVP. The match itself, I thought was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with the Hurt Syndicate keeping the pace of the match. MVP hits an elbow drop for a near fall, followed by an explosive suplex from MVP. Lashley then hits a spear on the Gates of Agony. Ricochet hits a 450 splash off the top rope. MVP and Bishop Khan, Khan, exchange in the middle of the ring. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Toa then throws a chair at Lashley, but this allowed Ricochet to hit a spirit gun on MVP in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are the Gates of Agony and Ricochet. Hats off to the Gates of Agony and Ricochet for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a TBS title matchup. It is Mercedes Moné defending the TBS title against the returning Rio. The match itself is a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Rio and Moné, with Rio keeping the pace of the match. Rio then hits a foot stomp off the apron on Mercedes Moné, but Moné gets up, hits a Meteora off the announce table, taking out Rio. Rio then somehow gets up, applies a statement maker on Moné in the middle of the ring, but the hold is broken. Moné then gets up, hits a sunset powerbomb on Rio into the turnbuckle. Rio then gets up, applies a single leg crab on Moné, but the hold is broken. Rio then follows that up with a German suplex into a pinfall for a near fall, followed by a Northern Light suplex for near fall as well. Monet then gets up, hits a lung blower on Rio, followed by a money maker, pins Rio for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still TBS champion, is Mercedes Moné. Hats off to Mercedes Moné for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night, probably match of the night. It is Okada defending the Unified Championship against Takeshita and Mascara Dorada. Like I said, man, I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Okada, Takeshita, and Dorada, with Dorada keeping the pace of the match. Dorada hits a springboard Hurricane Rana. Takeshita then gets involved in the match by hitting a brainbuster on Dorada on the outside. It looked absolutely brutal. Dorada then gets up, hits a Hurricane Rana on Takeshita, followed by Okada hitting an elbow drop on Dorada in the middle of the ring. Takeshita then hits a Blue Thunder Bomb on Okada in the middle of the ring. Dorada then gets involved by hitting a Destroyer on Takeshita for a near fall. Dorada then goes to the top rope, hits a 450 on Takeshita, followed by Dorada hitting a springboard Hurricane Rana on Okada and Takeshita. Okada and Takeshita then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Okada hitting a Tombstone Piledriver on Takeshita. Dorada then gets involved in the match. He hits a moonsault on Okada and Takeshita, followed by Takeshita hitting a powerbomb on Dorada. Okada then hits a dropkick on Takeshita in the middle of the ring. Okada, Takeshita, and then Dorada all exchange in the middle of the ring, with Dorada hitting a Hurricane Rana into a roll-up for a near fall. Takeshita then gets up, hits a Raging Fire on Dorada in the middle of the ring. Takeshita tries to go for the pinfall, but it's interrupted by Okada. Okada hits a Rainmaker on Mascara Dorada in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still Unified Champion, is Okada. Hats off to Okada for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a coffin match. It is Jon Moxley taking on Darby Allin. I thought it was a good match. Darby quickly starts the match by hitting a coffin drop off the balcony, taking out Moxley. Darby was trying to keep the pace of the match. Darby hits a tope, sending both him and Moxley into the coffin. Darby then goes for a tope, but Moxley counters it with a cutter to the outside. Moxley then throws Darby on to the coffin. Looked absolutely brutal. The Death Riders are here. Moxley tells the Death Riders to leave, as well as Marina Shafir. Darby then hits a coffin drop to the outside, taking out Moxley, followed by Darby hitting another coffin drop, landing on the coffin. It looked absolutely brutal. Darby then gets in the ring with Jon Moxley, hits a Scorpion Death Drop on Jon Moxley in the middle of the ring. Darby then attacks Moxley with a fork, if you will, or attacks his ear with a fork. Moxley's busted wide open. Moxley then hits a Death Rider on the coffin on Darby Allin. Moxley then closes the lid, or tries to, but Darby then stops Moxley. Darby then hits Moxley with a pipe. Danielson then gives Darby a bag. The other announcers are asking why Danielson's getting involved. He says that he's not. Darby then puts the bag over Moxley's face. Darby then hits a Code Red quickly on Jon Moxley. Then all of a sudden, Pac is here. Pac has been gone from AEW for quite some time with injury. Pac is here. He attacks Darby Allin. Pac then throws Darby over the ropes. Darby landing right on to the coffin. After that, Pac then puts Darby in a body bag. Then he picks up Darby Allin, he puts him in the coffin, closes the lid, and your winner of the match is Jon Moxley. After the match, the Death Riders then walk out carrying Darby Allin inside the coffin. Some interesting stuff there between Moxley and Darby Allin, and we get the return of none other than Pac back in AEW. Moving on from that, we have an AEW Women's Championship matchup. It is a fatal 4-way for Toni Storm's AEW Women's title. It is Tekla taking on Chris Statlander versus Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Tekla, Statlander, Hayter, and Storm, with Tekla keeping the pace of the match. Storm then hits a hip attack into the corner. Jamie then hits an exploder suplex on Tekla. Storm then hits a Storm Zero on Chris Statlander for a near fall. Storm and Hayter then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Tekla hitting a spear on Jamie off the apron. Chris then capitalizes on this by hitting a roll-up on Toni Storm, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new AEW's Women's Champion is Chris Statlander. Hats off to Chris Statlander for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have an AEW Tag Team Ladder match for the AEW Tag Team Championships. It is the Young Bucks taking on Josh Alexander and Hechicero versus Jet Speed versus Brody King and Bandito. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup with all teams involved, with the Young Bucks trying to keep the pace of the match. Bailey hits a moonsault, knee drop on Hechicero off the ladder, followed by Bandito hitting a powerbomb on the ladder. Young Bucks were trying to keep the pace, like I said. Brody then hits a Dante's Inferno on Bailey through the ladder. It looked absolutely brutal. The Young Bucks then and Alexander and Hechicero throw Kevin Knight off the ladder through a table. It looked absolutely brutal. Bucks then hit a BTE trigger. Bandito then hits a moonsault using a ladder. Then Bandito then climbs up the ladder, grabs the titles, and your winners of the match and still AEW Tag Team Champions are Brody King and Bandito. Hats off to Brody King and Bandito for getting the win in this matchup. After the match, the Bucks are still in the ring. They're looking around in the crowd. All of a sudden, Jack Perry shows up out of nowhere. Perry is staring down the Young Bucks. Both the Young Bucks look confused, but all of a sudden, Perry then attacks the Young Bucks. But the Bucks end up hitting a super kick on Jack Perry. They're going for a BTE trigger, but all of a sudden, the lights go out. And then we see a video package played of Jack Perry digging up, I guess, this coffin or casket or whatever have you. He drives off with the casket in the van, if you will. But then there's a video package. In the video package, just shows Jack Perry helping out Luchasaurus, or Kill Switch, if you will. And all of a sudden, the lights come back on, and it's Luchasaurus. He's standing right behind the Young Bucks. Luchasaurus ends up attacking the Bucks, and it looks like we have a reunion, if you will, of Jurassic Express with Jack Perry and Luchasaurus, which I am definitely excited to see both these guys once again reforming Jurassic Express. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of All Out. It is for the AEW World Championship. It is Adam Page defending the AEW World title against the TNT champion Kyle Fletcher. The match itself, I thought, was a really good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Page and Fletcher, with Page and Fletcher both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Page then was trying to keep the pace of the match. Fletcher hits a power bomb, pretty much landing Page off the apron. It looked absolutely brutal. Fletcher then hits an elbow drop for a near fall. Page gets up, hits a fall-away slam in the middle of the ring, followed by Page hitting a moonsault off the top rope to the outside. Page then hits a Liger bomb in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Page then goes for a moonsault on Fletcher, but Fletcher counters it with a devastating kick to the face, mid-air from Adam Page. Fletcher then hits a powerbomb for a near fall. Page then hits a tombstone on Fletcher on the outside. Fletcher gets up, hits a brainbuster on the timekeeper's table on Adam Page. Fletcher then hits another brainbuster in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Page somehow gets up, hits a deadeye off the apron through a table on Fletcher, followed by Page taking a book at a Kenny Omega's Page at a Kenny Omega's book by hitting a V trigger on Kyle Fletcher. He tries to hit a one-wing angel, but he was not successful. Page then hits another deadeye for a near fall. Fletcher then takes a page out of Will Ospreay's book by hitting a hidden blade on Adam Page for a near fall. Page then goes for a buckshot lariat, but Fletcher counters it with a brainbuster on Page for a near fall. Fletcher then exposes the turnbuckle, but Page then throws Fletcher into the exposed turnbuckle, which allowed Page to hit a deadeye on Fletcher. And then Page goes to the outside, hits his signature buckshot lariat on Kyle Fletcher, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still AEW World Champion, is Adam Page. Hats off to Adam Page for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about, man, before I get the hell up out of here as far as All Out is concerned. Was it the best event of the weekend? No. But I'm also not going to sit here and say that WrestlePalooza was better than All Out. To me, it's like 60-40. Or maybe if not 50-50. I mean, it's very close, bro. There's not really one event where I'm like, holy shit, that was a great event. Both events this past weekend sucked on multiple levels. AEW, and I've said this countless times, bro. AEW has a tendency where they don't write story. And it's hard for the fans to get invested in the product when there's no story. For example, the only story that we legitimately got for this all-out card, I would have to genuinely say, would be the tag team matchup between FTR and Copeland and Cage. That was the only legit story that we had going into All Out. It was not Page and Fletcher. It wasn't, Toni Storm for her match, Monet and Rio. No. It wasn't the ladder match for the AEW Tag Team Championships. It wasn't the Hurt Syndicate and the Gates of Agony. It was literally FTR, Copeland, and Cage in a 13-match card. That was it. AEW is lacking story, bro. It's hard as hell to get invested in some of these matches for these pay-per-views for AEW. Because there's no story for these fucking matches, bro. And there's 13 matches for these pay-per-views. And that's the other thing with AEW that they really need to invest in, or at least contemplate thinking about, where they would rather have, quantity or quality over quantity. We don't need 13 fucking matches that mean shit. We don't. 5 hours of pro wrestling for 13 fucking matches that mean nothing is just ridiculous. I'll take 5 or 6 matches that are actually pure quality over quantity. We don't need that many matches for a pay-per-view, because majority of those matches on All Out's card meant jack shit. They just didn't mean anything, bro. I mean, look, the storyline that we only got for this pay-per-view match-wise was, like I said, FTR versus Copeland and Cage. Was the match good? Yeah, it was a really good match. And like I said, it was a decent story going into All Out. But then we also get the surprise of Beth Phoenix. And for what it's worth, I mean, it made the match, bro. A lot of people have been patiently waiting to see if Beth Phoenix would show up in AEW. And then they finally did the right thing. She showed up. She attacked Stokely Hathaway, but then she also gets attacked by FTR. This is also hopefully going to continue the storyline between Copeland and Cage because of what they did to Beth Phoenix, what FTR did to Beth Phoenix at All Out. I feel like this story should be far from over between FTR, Copeland, and Cage. Now, with what happened to Beth Phoenix from the likes of FTR. Now, should they bring Beth Phoenix back? I hope they do. I think Beth would be great. I mentioned this earlier. For the storyline going on right now between FTR, Copeland, and Cage. And not only that, I think if she was to be brought in to wrestle and be a part of the women's locker room in AEW, I think it would also be a great addition because there's matches on the table that she would have really good matches with. And two, with her veteran leadership, she can be a veteran in that women's locker room, which I think they need that. They need, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Beth or WWE, but AEW's women's locker room, they need a Natalya. And Natalya, whether you like her or not, she is a leader in that women's locker room. A lot of women in WWE go to Natalya for advice or for training or anything else like that. And I think Natalya, when her career is over, if she's not already doing it now, would be a great agent or coach for WWE. AEW desperately needs that as well. And if it is Beth Phoenix, then I'm all for it. I think obviously Beth has worked with Natalya. I think bringing in someone like Beth Phoenix to the women's locker room in AEW, she can have that veteran leadership and really help the women and elevate the women in the AEW locker room. Absolutely. So hopefully it's not a one-off. Hopefully they bring Beth back. And if she is a part of AEW on a more consistent basis, then yeah, I mean, I would not be against her being a part of that women's locker room, having veteran leadership in that women's locker room to elevate the women that's on the AEW roster right now. I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it. And hopefully, for what it's worth, whatever this storyline is, hopefully it's not over. To me, it shouldn't be over after what, FTR just did to Beth Phoenix. I'm sure Copeland wants to get some revenge on FTR after what they did to his wife at All Out. So hopefully this storyline between FTR, Copeland, and Cage is far, far from over. So yeah, a plus would be the debut, if you will, of Beth Phoenix. Where it goes, who knows? That was a good match, and it was a great moment to see Beth Phoenix. The rest of the card there, bro, it gets murky, to be honest with you. I mean, look, man, I know there's been rumors and speculation about the Hurt Syndicate adding some new members. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. My thing is with them, and it's not a bad thing, Bobby Lashley is immensely over in AEW. And adding more members would be great to the stable if they use the stable correctly. If you're going to add more members to the Hurt Syndicate, then I want to see them on Dynamite or Collision weekly. And I want them to run roughshod on the AEW roster. I want them to be the top guys or the top stable in AEW. I want to see them go up against the Death Riders. And have the Hurt Syndicate up against the Death Riders. Absolutely. If we're going to have these stables, if you will, then we need to have a little stable warfare, if you will, between these stables, between Hurt Syndicate and Death Riders or whoever have you. That needs to happen. So if they're going to add more members to the Hurt Syndicate, then I would like to see something, at least some kind of program with the Hurt Syndicate and the Death Riders. Because right now the Death Riders are the main stable in AEW. And a lot of people hate the Hurt Syndicate, the Death Riders, myself included. But if we're going to build up the Hurt Syndicate, then I would like to see them be in a program with the Death Riders and try to take them down, because we're done with the fucking Death Riders. You know what I mean? So if they're going to do that, I'm all for it. The match itself between the Hurt Syndicate and Gates of Agony and Ricochet, it was okay at best. lack of story, lack of build. It was great to see MVP in the ring. I was actually surprised that we saw MVP and as far as how much ring time that he had in that match. I was actually shocked. He was in that match for quite a bit. He was also a part of the finish of that match where Hurt Syndicate were unsuccessful in that match because of Ricochet at the Spirit Gun on MVP, but I was surprised on how much time he had in the ring. So again, MVP can have some more matches in AEW if they choose to go that route. So I'm not against that at all. Do I have some gripes with the show? Oh, hell yes. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me I took away from the show, one of the biggest negatives, was the women's championship match, the Fatal 4-Way, where it was Stat, Tekla, Jamie Hayter, and Toni Storm. The ending of that match was fucking horrible. And I'm not taking anything away from Stat. I'm a big fan of Statlander. I think Statlander's great. My issue with Stat winning the championship is that Stat really hasn't had a lot of singles matches as of late, especially on Dynamite. A lot of the matches that she has as of late seemingly seem as if she's been teaming up with Harley Cameron in the, I guess, make-believe or makeshift women's tag team that they're trying to put together on AEW. She hasn't really had a whole lot of singles matches, and some of the matches that she's had, she's come up short as far as her singles run is concerned, as of late. So to see her in this matchup and then get the roll-up pinfall on Toni Storm to become the new AEW Women's Championship, I mean, to me, it was a decision that was made because there's nobody else left for Toni Storm. They're not bringing anybody in. I know there was rumors of speculation about Shayna Baszler. I don't think Shayna's coming in because she was just on NXT television. There's rumors of Dakota Kai. We haven't seen Dakota Kai yet, so I don't know if that's still a thing or not. They're running out of options for both Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné. They're running out of options. And I feel like Tony Khan pulled the trigger on this and said, you know what, we need to change some shit up, and we're going to have Toni Storm drop the title and give it to Chris Statlander, which, not for nothing, I think it was a bad business move to do. I'm not sitting here saying that Stat's not ready, but she hasn't really, and in my opinion, in my eyes, she hasn't really done anything to really give her an opportunity at that Women's World title or even become AEW Women's Champion right now. Not taking anything away from her talent. She's very talented. But a lot of the shit that she's been doing as of late has been teaming up with Harley Cameron. To me, if anybody was going to win that matchup besides Chris Statlander, I probably would have put maybe Jamie Hayter or Tekla, to be honest. And probably more likely Jamie Hayter, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't have had Toni Storm drop that belt at all. Toni Storm is one of the best things, if not the best thing that's going on AEW television right now. Honestly. And she's carrying this company on her fucking back. So to see her lose that title, I mean, obviously, yeah, it was bound to happen at some point. The problem is that they have a hard time building up talent. You know what I mean? Were people shocked that Storm lost the belt? I'm sure, yeah. I was shocked, to be honest with you, yeah. I didn't think Stat was going to win that title. But I knew at some point Toni Storm time with that title was coming to an end. I just didn't think it was going to be at All Out, and I didn't think it was going to be Chris Statlander now, to be honest with you. Where Toni Storm goes from here, I have no idea. She might even take some time off, to be honest with you. Now that she's not AEW Women's Champion, she might take some time off. You know, and it's going to hurt AEW because they don't build up younger stars to get us invested if someone like a Toni Storm takes some time off. And that's going to be a problem for AEW. So like I said, what Toni Storm goes from here, I don't know, bro. I don't know if she gets a rematch with Stat. I don't know if, you know, she's going to take some time off. Who knows? You know what I mean? And that's why I said something about Beth Phoenix should be a good addition to the female roster and bring her up into the ranks and maybe have her challenge for the AEW Women's Championship at one point. Maybe. I don't know. So that was a huge letdown for me. Toni Storm losing that title. We also get Mercedes Moné and Rio, which, not for nothing, bro, they slapped this match together faster than anything else that I've ever seen in AEW. Rio comes back after being gone for quite some time and instantly gets a TBS title shot where she was unsuccessful in beating Moné, and Moné retained a TBS title. Look, bro, Moné's not losing that belt anytime soon. She's not losing that goddamn title until she beats Jade Cargill's TBS title record. That's exactly why Moné has the belt now. That's why she's holding on to it now. Tony Khan wants her to beat Jade Cargill's record because Jade Cargill no longer works with the company. And they don't want a WWE talent to be any part of AEW anymore, even though they were there at one time, an employee, and working under Tony Khan. So Moné's not going to drop that title until she beats Cargill's record. And she falls in the same suit with Toni Storm. What is next for Mercedes Moné? There's nobody left, bro. I mean, you can maybe bring back a Britt Baker, I don't know, or bring in someone new. There's nothing left for Toni Storm or Mercedes Moné at this point. There's just not. They've gone through everybody, bro. It's not there. So when this match was all said and done, my question was, A, she ain't dropping that belt until she beats Jade Cargill's TBS title run. And B, they're running out of options. They're running out of competitors to go up against Mercedes Moné, and it's getting stale quick. Vastly quick. So I don't know if they're going to bring somebody in. I don't know. Like, I have no idea, bro. But it's getting stale, quick, real quick. The ladder match for the AEW Tag Team Champions, it was a good match. The return of Jack Perry. Jack Perry's been gone for quite some time, but he doesn't just return as Jack Perry. This is Jungle Boy Jack Perry, which, you know, I told you guys before, this was something that I wanted AEW to do. When this happened, when Jack Perry came back, and he came back as Jungle Boy, and then we get, you know, Jungle Boy reuniting with Luchasaurus, and Jurassic Express is back. This was something I told you guys, I think it was like a week or two ago, that AEW needs to go back to. And they need to go back to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, bro. You need to go back to what brought you to the dance. Obviously, the AEW Tag Team division is abysmal at this point. You bring in teams, or bring back teams like Jurassic Express. There's also rumors that, you know, the Acclaim might reunite after what happened with Jerry Lynn and Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Look, man, the Acclaim would also be a good tag team back into the fold of AEW. They need tag teams back into the fold. And now we got Jurassic Express. Now we have a possible, you know, reunion of the Acclaimed. It's a start, man, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, bro. Bowens and Cash are going on a singles run and didn't do a goddamn thing for either one of those guys. Even Jerry Lynn pointed that out. They weren't doing shit. Caster was getting his ass beat every week when he was doing these open challenges. Bowens was barely getting by on a singles run. It just ain't working out, fellas. And they're better together. They're better as the Acclaimed. They're immensely over. The fans love the Acclaimed. Why not reunite the Acclaimed? And then we get Jack Perry coming back at All Out. And then he reunites with Luchasaurus. And we got, once again, Jurassic Express, which is fucking awesome. And they are a shoe-in catalyst to go after the AEW Tag Team titles and win it. Absolutely. And to have Jungle Boy back, Jack Perry, yeah, I'm all for it. To have him come back as a babyface and not a heel, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they need tag teams, bro. The AEW Tag Team division right now is so fucking bad, I can't even start to tell you how bad it is. But to bring in teams back like the Acclaimed and Jurassic Express, it's going to elevate this AEW Tag Team division a lot more than what it has been as of late. Absolutely. You bring back maybe the Dark Order, get them involved again, sure. Absolutely. And they need it. They need it. They absolutely need it. You know, then you get the return of Pac as well. Pac is back. He was gone with some injury. He's back now with the Death Riders. So a lot of people are going to hear what Pac has to say, and hopefully we get something from Pac on Dynamite. We get the return of Eddie Kingston. And then there was also rumors and speculation that I think this week there might be another big return with Orange Cassidy teaming up with Mark Briscoe in a tag team matchup on this week's Dynamite. So again, Orange Cassidy's been out for quite some time, and he's on his way back. So again, these names are starting to come back into the fold again, which is awesome for AEW. And quite frankly, they need them, bro. With the likes of Adam Cole being out, you know, Ospreay's going to be out for quite some time. Swerve is out right now. They need some top names to come back into the fold of AEW, like an Eddie Kingston, like an Orange Cassidy, like a Pac. Jack Perry's back with Luchasaurus. I mean, it's going to get fans intrigued a little bit with the likes of Ospreay and Swerve being out due to injury. So they need something. They needed something. So I will give Tony Khan that he pulled the trigger on all the shit that happened at All Out, because they needed something, bro. Because if not, with the likes of Swerve and Ospreay being out and Adam Cole, I mean, it was starting to look a little murky going into these Dynamite and Collision episodes or these next pay-per-views, because, you know, Ospreay and Swerve are household names for AEW. They are the top draw for them. So not having those guys around, it's, you know, it's a problem. And also because AEW has a hard time to invest in younger talent to build them up to be top superstars. I'll also say the Okada triple threat match for the Unified Championship. To me, that was the best match of the night. And I was very, very impressed with Masco Dorada. Dorada's a fucking problem, man. Dorada, you know, I know he's a part of CMML. I know he's probably doing great things over there. But this matchup that he had, this triple threat match, man, holy shit. Dorada is severely underrated. I know right now the main big guy over in CMML right now is Mystico. He is the guy. He's the, you know, their guy. I would put Dorada right underneath Mystico to be the next big guy for CMML. Absolutely. Dorada is fucking insane. Absolutely. The moveset and what he did in that matchup against, you know, Okada and Takeshita, man, my God, the guy's got talent. He's got absolute talent. I mean, and Okada and Takeshita ain't no, small guys. These are big dudes. And Dorada really held his own. And Dorada, yeah, man. I think Dorada, he really impressed me in this matchup for sure. Dorada, sky's the limit for Dorada. To be honest, he impressed the hell out of me in the matchup against Takeshita and Okada. To me, it was the match of the night, in my honest opinion. And hopefully we see more of Mask over Dorada, man. I'm a huge fan, especially after the match we just saw, this triple threat match. And the guy's incredible, man. He's very talented in the ring, and he don't disappoint in the ring. And then we get the main event. We get Kyle Fletcher, TNT champion, taking on the AEW World Champion with Adam Page. Was it a good match? Yes. It's hard not to have a good match with Adam Page or Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher goes from 0 to 500 miles an hour within 10 seconds. I mean, the guy, it's insane, bro. The energy level that guy has is fucking insane. He don't know how to slow down. This guy is going 500 miles an hour in every single one of his matches. Should he slow down a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, dude, he is... Christ, bro, he's all over the fucking place. But like I said, was it a good match? Yes. Did the match have to go 40 minutes? No, it did not. No, it did not. And my other issue with this is the fact that, like I told you guys, bro, they have a hard time building up stars. This did not benefit Kyle Fletcher at all. I know some people are going to say, oh, it will, bro. He just had a great match against AEW's World Champion. Bro, he's going to go to the back of the line, man. That's how it works in AEW. And it doesn't really benefit him at all knowing that he's carrying the TNT Championship and he takes a loss. Kyle Fletcher, guys like Fletcher, MJF, Garcia, if he gets his shit together, Tony Storm, I won't even say Monet, but Tony Storm and Britt Baker and, Jack Perry and the Young Bucks and Omega and Ospreay and Swerve. These are the people that are, AEW are invested in, number one, on top of Swerve and Ospreay. But at the same time, man, Fletcher is an OG. You know what I mean? Like, and you build this guy up, and then you tear him back down again. I mean, you done that with him and Will Ospreay. Then we get this matchup with Adam Page, and yeah, he's a TNT champion, but then he loses this matchup against Adam Page. So really, what does it do for Kyle Fletcher? Honestly. And Kyle Fletcher, I mean, like I said, guys like Fletcher and Tony Storm and Britt Baker and MJF and those type of names are the future of AEW. And you're not really pushing the future of AEW. You're building up and leading towards these vets that have been around the wrestling business for quite some time. Like I said, Bobby Lashley is one of the biggest names in AEW, and he's a former WWE guy, and he's close to his damn near 50s, if not 50. When Kyle Fletcher's not even in his 30s yet. You know what I mean? And this guy is young, he's talented, and you're not really, yeah, he's TNT champion, but you take an L to Adam Page. Now, I wasn't sitting here saying that, Kyle Fletcher was going to go into All Out and walk out AEW World Champion. No. It'd be a huge fucking mistake for Page to lose that belt right now. Absolutely. Is Kyle Fletcher ready? No. I don't think he's ready for an AEW World title. I just don't. I think he should focus and be fixated on the TNT Championship and getting that back to where it once was and making that prevalent in AEW. Even though AEW has an abundance of fucking championships. I mean, there are even rumors and speculation that they might bring in a women's tag team titles, which would be absolutely insane. But it doesn't do anything for Kyle Fletcher in this matchup. And the match didn't need to go 40 minutes. It just didn't. The end of the day, bro, like I said, AEW's biggest problem is storylines and the fact that when it comes to pay-per-views, bro, it needs to be quality over quantity. I'd rather take 5 or 6 matches that are pure quality with storylines going into these matches than quantity with 13 fucking matches that mean jack shit. That's AEW's biggest problem, bro. Like, we don't need all these fucking matches that mean jack shit. They don't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need that many matches. Give me 5 or 6 that actually have storyline, that actually have meaning behind them, then I'm locked in, bro. We don't need 13 fucking matches to watch for 5 hours of AEW programming. And we just don't need it. 5 or 6 matches, good storyline, get us invested, and that's all we need. That's all we need, bro. Tony Khan and AEW needs to learn the difference between quality over quantity. We don't need that many fucking matches. We just don't. And every single pay-per-view, we're getting 13 to 15 fucking matches per pay-per-view. We don't need that many fucking matches. You know, and I've said it countless times. Does AEW need to hit the reset button? Yes. When that's going to happen, who the fuck knows, bro? They need to do something, and it needs to change. Give us story, bro. Get us invested in your product. Yes. Am I happy with some of the returns that happened at All Out? Yes, I am. I'm happy we saw Jack Perry return as Jungle Boy and reunite with Luchasaurus. I think that's a great idea. I preached that idea, I think, 2 fucking weeks ago. To bring life back to the tag team division in AEW. The Acclaimed. The possible reunion of Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. I also talked about this 2 weeks ago. Looks like that might also happen. Great. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they need tag teams right now in a tag team division that's fucking awful in AEW. So to bring in the likes of Jurassic Express and the return of the Acclaimed would be a great addition to a shitty AEW tag team division that needs to bring some more lifeblood back into the damn division. Yes. Seeing Beth Phoenix show up in AEW. A lot of people have been clamoring for the fact that we might see Beth. We finally see Beth showing up at All Out, attacking Stokely Hathaway, but then she also gets destroyed by FTR. But it's great to see Beth Phoenix back, and hopefully they do use her again. And like I said, hopefully the storyline between FTR and Copeland and Cage is far from over, especially what happened to Beth Phoenix from the likes of FTR. So yeah, it was great to see Beth. It was great to see the reunion of Jurassic Express. It was great to see Pac return after being gone from lengthy injury. It's also great to see Eddie Kingston back from being gone from a lengthy injury. But again, we need storyline, bro. We need stories, especially leading into these pay-per-views. Our next pay-per-view, I believe, is Wrestle Dream in October. I think the 18th or some shit like that in October. Let's build some storylines, bro. Let's build some storylines. Let's get the fans invested because you got less than 3.5 weeks until we get to Wrestle Dream. We need storyline. We need build for Wrestle Dream. And going into Dynamite this week, let's start that story and lead us into Wrestle Dream. It's not like AEW doesn't have the talent to do so, bro. They got an abundance of fucking talent over in AEW. AEW just needs a writing team that actually knows how to do their fucking job and give us storylines, bro. Stop writing these fucking shows the day before the event, the day before Dynamite. Let's get some, long-term booking going with these shows, bro, so we can get invested. And the funny thing is, AEW at one time actually did do compelling storylines and got the fans invested. Y'all just got lazy, bro. Let's build some story. Let's get the fans invested. You got talent returning back into the fold of AEW. Let's use these talents, build up storyline, and get the fans captivated once again with AEW's product. It's not hard, bro. Tony Khan is supposed to make some elaborate announcement, quote-unquote, announcement on Dynamite. And usually these announcements it's dumb as hell. But this one, I don't know what this one could be. It could be him talking about the Continental Classic and bringing that back. It could be bringing in women's tag team titles for the women on AEW. Who knows? Or another tournament. I don't know. He's supposed to make some announcement this Wednesday on Dynamite. Okay. Am I super excited about it? No, because a lot of his announcements that he said that he's making have always been let down. So not really huge announcements. So to me, I had to predict maybe Continental Classic coming back for the Unified Championship, maybe. I don't know. Or the announcement of Blood and Guts, maybe. I feel like they're a little behind, the curveball with Blood and Guts, but maybe. I don't know. But again, bro, we don't need 13 fucking matches. Give me 5 or 6 matches with compelling storylines, and I'm locked in for it. Like I said, bro, quality over quantity. It's going to win me over every single fucking time. And for what it's worth, I even told you guys, and I'll be the first one to say this, that I thought WrestlePalooza was going to be the top thing talking about the wrestling weekend. It's going to be the best thing coming out of the wrestling weekend. No, it wasn't. Were they still talked about over the wrestling weekend? Oh, yeah, with the what happened with ESPN today. Oh, yeah. When ESPN put that column out and gave WrestlePalooza a grade of a C, it said that the main event between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre was lackluster. I'm sure that pretty much pissed people off in WWE. Oh, yeah. But they're ruthless over in ESPN, bro. They're going to tell you exactly how the hell they feel. Tony Khan needs to hit the reset button, man. You do. You need to hit the reset button and go back to what brought you to the dance. And I'm sorry, man. I know I've been the only person that's probably preaching that shit. Like, oh, what do you mean by go back to what brought you to the dance? Bro, what they were doing, I understand things do change over time. And I get that. And maybe I'm not too big on change. I'll admit that. But my God, bro, if we're comparing what we had then till now, with the same fucking company, it's kind of ironic how when a company starts, you think, okay, they'll go through some murky waters and things might be rough, and then over the years, it'll get better. No, bro, in the beginning, it was red hot. It was white hot. And as the years went on, the shit's gotten fucking worse. So it's going in fucking reverse. You think they would be shitty in the beginning and get better over time from learning from their mistakes in the beginning? No. They went from being great to going to shit in the past 2 to 3 years. It's literally, opposite way. Ass backwards. You know, they know what the fuck they're doing. They just are too lazy to do it. You need to write story. Get the fans invested in the product, man. I'm telling you guys right now, if AEW writes compelling storylines for these matches leading up to these pay-per-views, what else can you really complain about when it pertains to AEW besides the 13 fucking matches we're getting on these pay-per-views? Give me story to get me invested into these fucking matches. And then when we get to the match of the pay-per-view, like, oh man, I cannot wait to see this match. NXT Black and Gold was perfect for that shit because they would get you invested into the match by the storyline. Mauro Ranallo was on commentary, one of the best commentators of all time. That man can sell a popsicle to a woman in white gloves. I mean, he could sell the match like nothing. So we get Mauro talking about the matches for NXT. Then we get the vignettes that are played, the storyline, the build-up, and then we finally get the match. And the match does exactly what the story's telling you. Poetry in motion, bro. That's what we need for AEW. Story leading up to these pay-per-views. Make these pay-per-view matches actually worth a damn for us to invest our money into by buying these pay-per-views. Because like I said, bro, going into All Out, the only real story that we had for that entire 13-match card would have to be FTR, Copeland, and Cage. That is it. We weren't getting much story between Gates of Agony and the Hurt Syndicate. We weren't getting story between Rio and Monet. There was no story there. There was no story for Tony Storm's match in the Fatal 4-Way. No story there. Fletcher and Page, there was no story there. I mean, come on, bro. The only story we got out of a 13-match card was, like I said, FTR versus Copeland and Cage. That's a fucking problem. Give us some story, bro. That's all you guys got to do. Hire a fucking writing team, give us some story, and there you go. That's all you guys need to do, bro. And then for me, I wouldn't complain a goddamn bit. I mean, maybe if the story was shit, it's like, oh, the story was not all that great, but give us something, man. Give us something. Yes, I am happy with the returns that we got it all out. Yes. Eddie Kingston's back, Pac's back, Jack Perry's back, aligned himself up with Luchasaurus to reunite Jurassic Express. Awesome. I talked about this 2 weeks ago that they should bring these teams back, like the Acclaimed. Great. Bring them back. Tag team division needs teams like that because right now the tag team division in AEW is complete shit. I'm happy to see them back. It's great to see Eddie Kingston back. It's great to see Pac back. And there's also rumors and speculation that Orange Cassidy might be returning to Dynamite this week after being gone from a lengthy injury. Great. Great. I'm excited for that. But doesn't mean that All Out was all that great. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Was it better than WrestlePalooza? No. No. On the same playing field. Neither one of those are better. Absolutely not. And I thought WrestlePalooza was going to be better in my defense compared to All Out. And I was wrong. And I'll admit when I'm wrong, I was wrong. Now, were they still the talk of the wrestling weekend? Sure. Like I said, after the comments that were made from ESPN today, some of the comments that were made after what happened with the matches, and especially what happened between Brock Lesnar and John Cena, there was a lot of people, myself included, that were pissed off to no end on the way Brock Lesnar and John Cena's match had ended. Absolutely. Was Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre's match lackluster? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with ESPN with those comments 100%. 100%. And I feel bad for Drew McIntyre, bro. If I was him, I'd be contemplating my entire career up to this point with WWE. Because I feel like they're not really fully invested in your ass. Clearly. Because they keep dropping the fucking ball when it comes to Drew McIntyre. So yeah, I'll be contemplating a lot with my career in WWE as of late. If I was Drew McIntyre. Fucking right. AEW's on the same fucking boat, bro. They don't know how to build up younger stars. You build up Kyle Fletcher just for him to lose to Adam Page. And now what does that do for Kyle Fletcher in the TNT title? Does Fletcher go in the back of the line? You know what I'm saying? What does it do for Kyle Fletcher? You guys are not willing to build up younger stars for the future of this company. You're just not. MJF and Mark Briscoe. Yeah, was it a good match, bro? Yes, but I feel like that match for MJF was below him. MJF is one of the biggest stars in AEW, and you guys are dropping the fucking ball with MJF as of late. MJF hasn't been doing shit, bro. Honestly. In the past year and a half to two, yeah. I would say in a year and a half hasn't really done shit. They don't know what the hell to do with Max at this point. And it's a shame because he is one of your top guys. He should be in the conversation for an AEW World title. He should possibly be AEW World Champion. He should possibly be the guy that actually takes the belt away from Adam Page. It should be MJF. But then you're putting in a match against Mark Briscoe in a indie glorified matchup, hardcore style, with tables and tacks match. And look, man, I got all the respect in the world for Mark Briscoe, too. I miss when he used to team up with Jay. God rest Jay's soul, man. Rest in peace to Jay Briscoe. And the Briscoes are one of my favorite tag teams, bro. But Mark, I don't know where Mark Briscoe goes from here, bro, to be honest. I know he has a tag team matchup on Dynamite, but do you honestly see Mark Briscoe being the guy for AEW? No, I do not. I don't. I think at best, I might see Mark Briscoe maybe have the opportunity to be TNT champion. AEW World Champion, I just don't see it. I just don't. I don't. And it's not taking anything away from Mark Briscoe. I think Mark Briscoe's great. I just don't see him as a main event guy carrying a company on his back. I just don't see it. I don't. And some people say, well, that's ridiculous, bro. It's just my opinion. Now, if he was in a tag team division, yeah, I think he would be multi-time tag team champions in AEW. If he was teaming with Jay. And unfortunately, Jay is no longer with us because he had passed away. And God rest Jay Briscoe's soul. But it's not the same, bro. It's just not. You know what I mean? I think with Mark, I think he's trying everything that he can. But it's not like AEW really capitalizes on Briscoe all the time, bro. Like, how many times have we seen Mark Briscoe in a Continental Classic tournament where they treat him like shit? I mean, I think the last tournament, he barely even got a fucking win in that tournament. So clearly they're not really high praise on Mark Briscoe either. Being Tony Khan and company. They're not really, oh yeah, we're sold on Mark Briscoe. No, you're not. You're not. Because if you were to say that, then he would have been in the conversation for a TNT title or a Ring of Honor World Championship or the Ring of Honor Pure Championship or whatever have you. Clearly you're not as high on Mark Briscoe as most people think that they should be high on Mark Briscoe. No, they're not. Tony Khan's not that high on Mark Briscoe. Now, for me, I could see him being TNT champion or Ring of Honor World Champion. If that does happen, great. Him being AEW World Champion and carrying a company on his back, I don't know. You can say, well, what about Ring of Honor? You say you'd be Ring of Honor World Champion. Bro, because Ring of Honor's not doing shit right now, man. And for those people out there that are Ring of Honor elitists, bro, I don't know what to tell you. You're watching wrestling behind a paywall that means jack shit. Ring of Honor, that whole company is dead, man. It's dead. Ever since Tony Khan had bought Ring of Honor, bro, Ring of Honor has definitely not been the same as it once was. Ring of Honor was awesome at one time. And this was well before Tony Khan came along and purchased the company. Ring of Honor was getting talent from all over the world, bro. From New Japan to Mexico, all over the fucking planet to come wrestle with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor now, not even fucking close compared to what Ring of Honor was back then. Not even fucking close. You know what I mean? That's the difference. AEW is on primetime television week in and week out, whether it be TBS or TNT. And not for nothing, when Briscoe came in, the powers that be in TBS and TNT didn't really want to bring in the Briscoes because I guess some kind of backstage situation of how I guess the powers that be at Warner Bros. Discovery felt about the Briscoes. So I don't really see Briscoe being pushed that well. MJF, I don't know what the fuck they're doing with him. I really don't. He's got that contract, which he has to give a heads up on to cash in against Adam Page for the world title, which I think is fucking ridiculous. I mean, I don't know, bro. I really don't know. This company, they need to invest in storyline, man. They need storyline. They need some kind of investment in the storyline to get us invested in these matches. You know, we don't need 13 fucking matches. Give me 5 or 6 matches with storyline. Like I said, for me, it will always and forever be quality over quantity. I don't need 13 fucking matches. You give me a quality 5 or 6 matches, I'm locked in, bro. Locked in. I don't need 13 matches. 5 hours of matches that mean jack shit. Jack shit. So as far as, for those people out there, who do you think won the weekend, bro? Nobody. Nobody. AEW didn't, and WWE sure as hell didn't. I mean, if I was going to say anything, if I was WWE, I'd be fucking embarrassed as hell after what came out today from ESPN in that column on ESPN.com. As far as the grade they gave WrestlePalooza with a C at best, and then the powers that be at ESPN saying that the match between Rhodes and McIntyre was lackluster, and the card was lackluster, and the best match on the entire night was Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer, that's a big problem. Not taking anything away from those ladies, not taking anything away from Io or Steph, but you had some primetime players on this card, and for you to say the card was lackluster, and the main event was lackluster and lackadaisical and everything else, and giving them a C grade for this pay-per-view with your first pay-per-view or PLE on ESPN, that's saying a lot. WWE should be fucking embarrassed with what they put out for WrestlePalooza. And ESPN obviously is not holding back any punches when it pertains to WWE, because right off rip, their first event with ESPN, they gave them a C and said that the event was lackluster. That's, I wonder how that relationship's going to play out here for the foreseeable future between ESPN and WWE if we're getting shit like that and what we got on Saturday night between for WrestlePalooza. They're going to have to step up to the plate, bro. Like I said, man, I don't have, for me and this show, my show, there is no tribalism for companies. I want both companies to succeed, but am I going to call out bullshit when I see it? Oh, yeah. I'm not here, like I've told you guys countless times, man, I'm not here to rub shoulders with these fucking people or anything else like that. I don't have to ever be invited to a media scrum for the rest of my life. But I love pro wrestling. I've watched pro wrestling since I was 7 years old. I've seen the good times of wrestling and I've seen the bad in my time or duration since I've been on this planet. I have love for pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling. My family loves pro wrestling. You know what I mean? It runs deep in my family. Absolutely. From my grandparents all the way down to me and my sisters and my brothers. Yeah, we love pro wrestling. I usually get the stories all the time from my grandfather talking about Bruno Sammartino and Andre the Giant and Lou Thez and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers and Antonio Rocca and all these other guys. Man, trust me when I say this, I have a history of pro wrestling, even if I didn't want it at the time. Absolutely. From all the way back in the day, bro. Terry Funk and all this other shit. Giant Baba. Oh, yeah. Antonio Inoki. All these stories that my grandfather would tell me as far as what, wrestling was to him and what it meant to him. He was a huge Andre the Giant fan. Loved Andre. But he always used to say, too, that Andre was more than just a wrestler, man. He was a spectacle because of how big he was and what he did in the ring. A lot of people love to watch Andre the Giant wrestle. Absolutely. But my grandfather watched wrestling all over the place, bro. It used to be on ESPN. It used to be all over the place, bro. So I have the history. Well, not all the history, but I've gotten some history lessons of pro wrestling from my grandparents and everything else like that. And like I said, I've been watching pro wrestling since I was 7 years old, man. I love the sport of professional wrestling, and I love pro wrestling. That's why I do what I do. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to sit here and kiss ass and sugarcoat shit when it's, if it's bad, it's bad. I'm not going to sit here, it was great when the show sucked. That's not me. That's not me. If you want something like that, then you might as well go somewhere else, bro. I keep it real on this show. This is my show. And I'm not here to, like I said, to kiss people's asses and rub shoulders with these people. I'm not. The shows, as far as this weekend, were not as great as I thought they were. And if I'm wrong, I'll tell you guys I'm wrong. I thought WrestlePalooza was going to outdo All Out. I told you guys that, and I was wrong. And I'll admit when I was wrong. And I was wrong. Both shows were fucking horrible. Which is insane considering the fact that what WrestlePalooza, card-wise, on paper, it looked phenomenal. You had some, like I said, bro, some top-notch names for this card. Brock, John, CM Punk, AJ Lee, first match back in WWE against Rollins and Becky Lynch. Brock and John. Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, Stephanie versus Io. The Usos taking on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed with LA Knight getting involved. You had some top names for this card, man. And ESPN themselves even came out and said, well, we're going to give it a grade of a C at best. But the event was very lackluster. That's not a strong start, being the fact that this is the first PLE under the ESPN umbrella. Not a hot start. So again, it's going to be a bumpy road here between ESPN and WWE. But that's just the WWE side of things. AEW, I mean, like I said, bro, I'm not going to sit here and say it was worse than WrestlePalooza or better. It was about the same. The only thing I'll give AEW compared to what we got with WWE is that we did get some returns. I wouldn't say surprises, but we got some cool returns back into the fold of AEW. We got Eddie Kingston back. We got Pac back. We saw the surprise, if you will, of Beth Phoenix. I don't know if she's still going to be incorporated into AEW. Hopefully she is. Like I said, we saw Pac, Beth Phoenix, Eddie Kingston. We saw the return of Jack Perry and the reunion of pretty much of Jurassic Express with Jack Perry teaming up once again with Luchasaurus. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. You know what I mean? So again, and then we got the rumor and return of Orange Cassidy possibly returning on Dynamite to team up with Mark Briscoe. Again, great to see him possibly come back into the fold of AEW. So, yeah, I mean, for that, I'll give AEW credit on that. We saw some returns. Great. It was a great moment with Beth Phoenix showing up. Sure. Other than that, there really wasn't really a lot to hold on to as far as what All Out had to, what All Out gave to the fans. So it was about the same damn shit. Like I said, bro, AEW and Tony Khan need to think about quality over quantity. We don't need 13 matches, bro. 5 or 6 with strong storylines is all we need. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's All Out. I hope you guys are out there staying safe,